Hi, very good afternoon. I can hear myself very loudly. Am I too loud or okay? All right, good, thank you. Let me start with a little story. Many years ago, when I graduated from my engineering college and joined my first job, in our company we used to use something called the 386 machines. How many of you remember those? 386 and 486, and then came the Pentium chips, right? And we were using those 386 and 486 machines, and we were using some engineering modeling that we were trying to do and write some code, use a software which did a lot of analysis for us. And it used to take that machine around 5 to 6 hours to do some of the modeling that we were doing. We used to run the program late in the evening and expect that by the time we come back in the morning next day, the analysis would have been finished. And my boss at that time, who was 20 years my senior, he asked me that, how much time does your machine take to do this? And I told him, boss, 5 to 6 hours. And he said, what nonsense, I can do it myself in 45 minutes because I know all the thumb rule formulas, right, as an engineer. And then arrived the first Pentium machines a few months later. And the first thing the IT guy told me is that, why don't you use your software on that machine now? And I did it. It took 5 minutes. I'm not even going where Pentium 2s and Pentium 3s took it. And my boss, then I went back to him and I said, now it's 5 minutes. You still want to keep competing. And with technology, one of the things with technology is that you cannot keep pace as human beings. Let's admit it. If a machine can do something, it will do it better than us. Even if it is not doing it today, in a few months, if not weeks, it'll start doing it better than us. So on that note, what I really wanted to do today very quickly, and I know there's a 8 to 10 minute time that we have been given, to really talk about that the whole context of digital transformation and how technology is becoming an integral part of how businesses are delivered and run. What does that mean for people, for talent in our organizations? And as SMEs, I can in particular understand, and I've worked with quite a few, worked with one before as a career, in my career as well, the implications of that are a little different, and I'll try to nuance it as we go along. So just, you've heard a lot of this jargon before. I'm not going to delve deep into this, but essentially what is happening is that all the transformation that we are talking about, it is leading to a reconfiguration of jobs itself. It requires very different approach to sourcing skills. You might need something very urgently for 2 months. It might not be a job that we really want to hire for as a permanent role in your organization, but you need that skill set for a couple of months. And I was happy to see the platform that SME Advisor is launching, because it helps you source talent on demand quickly for coming in, doing a specific task, and getting out of the organization perhaps. So it means different things on-demand skills, learning to learn. I will talk a bit more about that, and man and machine working together. And that's a very, very important aspect of talent to move on how we work with others, changes to how we also work with machines. And then, of course, from a talent perspective, how do we keep that employee base, whether they are temporary or permanent workforce, engaged and make them experience a good job with us? So I'll just talk about 4 key themes that I'd like you to take away a few key messages from. First of all, we need talent that is very comfortable with data. How many of us hire some people who are data analysts and can do a few analytics for us? How many of us have such people in our company who can do some analysis, look at data, mine data, etc.? Now, I want you to do a paradigm shift. Right now, we are hiring a few people who understand data, can interpret data. I'll advise you to stop hiring anyone who cannot work with data. Because the biggest power of digital transformation, of technology transformation, is that we have oodles of data. We have so much data that the species called Homo sapiens is not equipped to be able to make any sense out of it. Get those people in who are comfortable with data and can work with data very effectively. a critical change to the skill set requirement of the kind of people that we should be hiring going forward. The second point I want to highlight is about ethics and empowerment. I'm calling it the return of ethics. And why is it that? As we start using programs and softwares and technology apps for doing various things, we need to know what are the rules we are defining behind it. Because very soon, it's quite possible that machine cannot just analyze, an artificially intelligent machine can't just analyze data better than us, but perhaps can also take decisions better than us. But do we have the right framework and the legal framework around it? Can we say that a machine can take a better decision about whether this person performed better than this person in the performance appraisal, for example? Very soon, and talking as an HR practitioner, there'll be more data analysis that a machine can do to take a better decision. Some of you might have read the latest article in Harvard Business Review recently, and we are even saying today that 25% of the job of a CEO can be done better by a machine than by a human being. 25% of the job of a CEO. So technology is no longer looking at the color of the collar. That if it's a blue-collar job, if it's a lower-skilled job, technology can do it better, but for the top management, they do the job, human beings do the job better. That whole bridge is breaking. And it'll be important for us as organizations to really see that our people are able to work with data, get the right analysis from data, which machines can enable, but at the same time have the qualitative aspects and the ethical aspects, governance frameworks, decision-making frameworks defined clearly so that we don't cross the line when it comes to empowering machines to do things for us. The third, and I would say the most critical aspect, is about learning to learn. So if you have an employee in your organization today who is young, who's just joined you, 24 years of age, what do you think will happen to that employee in 10 to 15 years from now? He or she will be between 35 and 40, in the mid of their career. And trust me, if you haven't invested in making them learn, their skill set would have become redundant in the next 10 to 15 years, totally. They will be out of a job, they'll not be able to find a job. So my submission here would be that the way we are hiring talent today, the onus on us will be as employers to make sure that we are investing in keeping our talent, our people employable in future. Very soon, people, young talent, will not join companies that are not investing enough in keeping them employable and making them learn new skill sets which will help them stay in a good job in 10 years and 15 years from now. So the whole culture of learning to learn. What was happening earlier in 20 years that people with certain skill sets, if they didn't learn, became redundant, it'll start happening in a matter of 3 to 5 years. If you don't learn something new, if you don't learn a new way of doing things, it will all disappear. And your own job will disappear. So it's important that we as employers also invest and make people have that constant desire to learn. The final point I want to make is about working in networks. It is the organization as we understand it today will probably not be existing in 15 years from now. Most organizations will become a network of people. So you might come together, you might have heard the terminology gig workforce that is becoming very common these days, that I need a special task to be done. It's a 3-month project. It requires 10 different skill sets. Some of those skills are in my company. Some I will source from outside. Some will be totally virtual consultants who might not even come to my office ever. And this 10-people team will work together for 3 months, accomplish the task, and disperse again. Now that will be a networked organization. Now think, when I was talking about this at another session, and there I was asked a question that, so will skills like emotional intelligence, decision-making skills, communication skills, will they remain important or will they not be important? all those skills will also need to evolve and adapt with this kind of a working environment. You will need to communicating with people, with teams. When you are working with a 10-people team, which is dispersed across the globe, you're interacting only virtually, et cetera, very different communication skills are required. Your decision-making skills based on gut feel and confidence, and that's my sense, versus being able to look at tons of data, great analysis that a machine or an expert is doing for you, and then being able to take a decision on that is decision-making, which is based more on data and insights than on my gut feel and my sense of the business. And that's, again, going to be very important. That applies equally to people-related decisions that we take as organizations. So again, the point is that as the digital transformation in organizations is going to become bigger and bigger, it will also mean that the way our workforce works together with each other will need to evolve, and their skill sets will need to evolve. We as organizations will have the onus of helping enable that. And I'll end on a very, very simple note that people will probably not get redundant, but their skills will get redundant faster than we have ever seen before. The talent needs to live on, but the skills need to be updated almost on a live basis for us to survive in the era of digital transformation. I will just stop there. I think, the point is said, learning and learning to learn and constant learning is what will save the future of our organizations in a digital world. Thank you so much.